about that. Oh, what is this other one? Oh, I like this.
Lots of hot topics today.
The Art of Pause and People?
Yes, it's
sounds
such
like a good one.
a great organization. Pause, of course. Pets Are Wonderful support program provides pet care assistance to low-income individuals in our area who have HIV and AIDS. And Todd Allen is going to be in to talk briefly about that at the end of the show. But it is, if you love animals and you believe in the healing power of animals, it's going to be a fun conversation. So many hot topics today that I think both Greg Willard and Joe Holloman, we're going to have to put them on speed rounds to cover everything that we need to cover.
Can I have a quick dog thought first?
Please.
Yesterday, as I texted with you, I had to get out of the house. So I went to visit Brooke and Kennedy with Reggie to hang out with Hank. And so Hank and Reg could hang out. And we are driving down Geyer Road, and the window's open, and Reggie sees Hank walking on the road with Brooke and almost jumped out of the car. There's never been a more excited living creature than Reggie seeing Hank on the road. If you don't think dogs can see and notice and smell, I mean, it was still maybe 25 yards away from us, and he just went nuts because he knew he was about to hang out with Hank. It was so unbelievable.
That's good. They're old buddies. I do. Yes, you mentioned your wife, your beautiful and amazing wife Monique, hosting some wonderful friends for book club last night. I do want to remind you, you're not an elementary school boy where hanging out with other women or with a bunch of women rubs off on you. It's really just an okay thing. I'm often in settings where I'm either the only woman or one of a few, and it's fine. It really has not negatively impacted me, nor will it you if those roles are reversed. I promise you.
Women were empowered. It was the book club, and you've probably read this book because Monique said, "Oh, I'm sure she's read it." Theo of Golden.
Oh, so good.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So there's 12 women, and they're all around the chairs, and somebody really decked it out, and they drew portraits of each woman that was coming. And then they had the food that was connected kind of with the book itself, and I was intimidated. And
see, John always tries to hang around when I'm hosting book club because he knows there's going to be a great spread of food and people are going to bring bottles of wine. And so he's always like, I don't want to bother you. But then I have to kind of wave him in and, help yourself to whatever's out here. And, gee, thanks. It's a big surprise. It is the fourth day of Diwali, Hindu Festival of Lights. So we want to mark that and say Happy Diwali to all of you who are listening who celebrate that as well, and time to get together with family and friends for many in our community, for sure.
Well, that's good to hear. All right, what else is going on here today? Well, you wanted to address this again. You wanted to talk about it. I don't have it in my opening dialogue, but I heard McGraw discussing it a lot, Kim Wex discussing it a lot.
Yeah.
The Rennie Knott article in St. Louis Magazine did some digging and came out with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and so I guess a lot of people know, of course, you have a long-time professional relationship with Rennie. Is there anything you can or can't say about how the situation is unfolding?
Well, I'm sure the station would prefer I don't talk about it, and this is the only thing I try not to hold back any opinions, as you've probably noticed. So, that article was pretty revealing, and for the people who haven't read it, they can go to stlmag.com. Yeah,
STL, St. Louis Magazine. Sarah Fensky reported on with some inside sources at the station.
Part of it.
Essentially, she was saying that there were people that were saying that Rennie's disposition was changing. I'm just editorializing to summarize here, to the point where some people felt that it was unpleasant, to the extreme of other people saying that it was becoming intolerable. What was happening. And we all know in situations like this, I can just speak generically, the corporate decisions get made out of town often on things based on human resource complaints.
Yes. Now, I think when you're talking about a pretty high-profile anchor, sometimes, corporate would have a big say.
Yeah, and so that's kind of so you have some people saying, that's too bad. Maybe other things are going on in his life. He shouldn't have behaved that way. Some people saying, come on, 20 plus years in this market, very beloved. Is this really a good both optic for the station? Anthony Slaughter on that same show is gone as well. So it's certainly got a lot of people around the water coolers talking about it.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to this. Could it have been done where you bring Rennie in and you discuss these things and maybe put him on a little leave, maybe get healthy and take care of him? Or would that have mattered if it makes the people around him feel uncomfortable and they felt in danger? So that was the decision that had to be made. And they went with that decision. So, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. And you just wonder, is that article, when it comes out like this, will that affect his chances of being employed by Channel 4 and Channel 2? Because obviously he's built up a lot of rapport in the market, and he'd like to stay here, and his family's here.
Yeah, just a lot of things. I do want to say on another note that is, I just want to say a farewell to our friend John Pertzborn, who's leaving because he's retiring on his own, by his own choice. It's either today or tomorrow, I think, is the last on the air. Lots of fun retrospectives airing right now on Channel 2. And so if you have, like me, been watching Pertzborn for all these decades and will miss seeing him, waking up every morning with him on Fox 2 News in the morning, tune in to say goodbye to him over the next few days.
Yeah, good man. When I started at Channel 5, he was back in Show Me, and he was tremendous then, and he's tremendous now. Hasn't aged at all.
Yeah, well, he's a lot like you in terms of just having an enormous amount of energy and good, very, very good people person.
What do you think he does now in terms of like occupying?
I want to ask him that question. I reached out and said, hey, we really want to have you on the air. And he's like, you got to give me a couple weeks. I'm leaving town. But we'll circle back around and get him back on the air to talk about that transition. Because, I can imagine you'd want to hear that from somebody like him because, like you, he's got a lot of energy, huge work ethic, and have been working for a long, long time. Good man.
All right, let's take our first break. When we come back, the opening dialogue on the Frank and Jill Show.
Recently, a good friend of mine was changing the light fixture in their kitchen, and they took the light fixture off the ceiling, and they looked inside the ceiling and said, what is the phone number to Michael Baldy? If they would have listened to me, they would have put Michael Baldy's phone number in their phone, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. So here you go. The next time you need an electrician, you need to remember Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. So the phone number, 314-968-9999. Indoor, outdoor, an old Victorian home, knob and tube wiring, and anything and everything in between. You see, Michael Baldy is a licensed electrician, and he has a team ready to go. Whether it's something for the ceiling in the kitchen, something for the lights for the holidays, whatever it may be, Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. BaldyElectric.com, 314-968-9999, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. BaldyElectric.com.
Let's talk about a getaway where you're not spending all the time on the road. How about Innsbruck? Think about it. You could go from your desk to a canoe and do some fishing in about 25, 30 minutes. They've got A-frames, they got tree houses, or if you're looking for a place to live that's away from hustle and bustle, custom homes and condos as well. It is absolutely gorgeous. Have you been out? Have you looked? Go to Innsbruck-resort.com to find your getaway.
It's Julie Buck here to tell you that the patio is open at Bishop's Post right next to Chesterfield Mall. Get your reservations in now and go to Bishop's Post. You will love it. Tell them Julie Buck sent you, bishopspost.com.
Hey, it's Heidi Glaus, and I want to remind you to tune in to the Heidi Glaus Show with Bob Ramsey and Josh Gilbert weekdays from 3 to 6. You don't want to miss all the fun. Plus, twice a month, we're joined by Dr. Ravi Johar, the Chief Medical Officer for United Healthcare. Dr. Johar, United Healthcare, will keep us informed and educated about everything happening in the healthcare system, plus important facts to keep us healthy. United Healthcare and the Heidi Glaus Show on the Big 550 KTRS.
At Maryville University, we power dreams, not just degrees. For nearly 150 years, we've empowered graduates to build successful careers. At Maryville, expect a rigorous, technology-driven, mentor-inspired education in a diverse and inclusive learning environment. We help you take it to the next level, no matter what field you choose. Now is the time to turn your ambition into action and transform your dream into reality. Start your journey at maryville.edu.
A message from the Master. If you are looking for that one-of-a-kind gift this year, come on in to Newsletter's Fine Jewelers. Let Richard draw your future present for somebody you love. This special engraving lasts a lifetime. At the corner of Big Ben and Doherty Ferry or at wowdiamonds.com.
When you send a text to the Big 550, do you wonder if we see all of them?
Of course we do.
We do pay attention and love your interaction on the Big 550 text line at 84126.
Don't like something? Love something? Just let us know.
Thanks for being a part of the KTRS family. And keep the text coming. We are the Big 550, the talk and text of St. Louis.
Hi, it's Frank Cusimano inviting you to join me for the Press Box, brought to you by Control Option, Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. We're going to interview some of the biggest names in sports and have our opening monologue. That's the Press Box, brought to you by Control Option, Monday through Thursday at 6 p.m. right here on the Big 550 KTRS, the talk of St. Louis.
And now the opening dialogue with Frank and Jill on the Big 550 KTRS.
Powered by Worldwide Technology Raceway.
All right. Dr. Rick is off today. He's traveling, so we'll get with him next week. So let's begin with the opening dialogue, and this is Thought One. So with all the strife in the country on full display this weekend, and for the last month, especially between the Democrats and the Republicans, I thought this soundbite from Real Time with Bill Maher would be good to play. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was the featured guest, and I know he wasn't a perfect governor, but he did try to unite parties in his state. Listen right here.
This is what negotiating is all about. I was a Republican, and I was in Sacramento. I got together with the Democrats, and I made it very clear. I maybe think differently than you sometimes, but you're not my enemy. I love working with you because with the Republican brain and with the Democratic brain together, we have the ultimate brain power, and we can really accomplish things. So that was the idea.
How about that? Then you had the gubernatorial candidate, Katie Porter, who was asked, what would you try to do to get those Trump voters on your side? She said, basically, why are you even asking that question? Why would I even care about those deplorables on my side? So, and believe me, Republicans are just as guilty here. So both parties are to blame. But it wasn't that long ago that you had a governor talking like that. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor in 2011. A Republican brain and a Democratic brain working together. You know, when you think about it, it's really not that complicated. And yet, as we speak, Jill, it seems as far-fetched as possible right now.
Really good point. And of course, I love this because I love talking about the brain. But that's one of the things I think people totally miss we have verifiable data, brain science to show that people's brains are wired differently if you tend to be more conservative or if you tend to be more liberal. And that means that we're afraid of different things and have different strengths based on where those tendencies are. Some of them are cultural, some of them are genetic, some of them are environmental, some of them are developed. But the brains become afraid of different things. And his point is excellent, which is if you put those together and recognize you're not going to agree on everything, but if you can find commonality there, there's a good perspective to be gained. We just have lost the ability to do that.
I wonder, the way you say the word afraid, too, I don't want to put two and two together, but it is Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator, and you look at his persona, probably not afraid of anything. You know, and like if we have courageous women and courageous men are really comfortable in their own skin, they shouldn't be afraid to exchange ideas and to go back and forth, even if you're far right, far left, But maybe you do have to be strong and not afraid. And that's maybe, I don't know, I'm maybe putting Schwarzenegger's movie career with his political career, and believe me, he wasn't perfect.
Yeah, we've gotten to the point where both parties say we're in high conflict mode, which instead of just conflict mode, in high conflict mode, you create the enemy out of the other. And when the other is an enemy, compromise, fear, it becomes everybody's afraid to even consider compromise. And that's, I think, where the millions of people who are being impacted because of the government shutdown, because people are, in many cases, working or not getting paid or are furloughed. I mean, you're talking about that's going to start impacting mortgage companies. It's going to start impacting everybody because you can't pay your mortgage if you're not getting a paycheck right now. We're looking at some real impact coming down the pike here soon. Prosecuting attorney here at home, Melissa Price Smith, teaming up with leaders of Mothers Against Drunk Driving's Missouri chapter, as Sarah Fensky reported this morning, announcing a big change. Hopefully this doesn't impact any of you, because you guys know you should never be drinking and driving anyway. But if you're in St. Louis County, things are about to change a lot. People suspected of driving under the influence in St. Louis County, if you refuse to take a breathalyzer, now you would be put on what's called a no refusal. Any driver who declines to cooperate with the breathalyzer is going to have to submit to a blood draw. MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, have been trying to get county prosecutors across Missouri to do it. Only a few have signed on so far, but they say it is going to save a lot of lives. By the way, during her tenure so far, Melissa Price Smith, who is going to be running for re-election next fall, said that the charges for driving under the influence have increased sharply from 498 in the offices last year under Wesley Bell to 671 so far this year. We're not even to the end of the year yet.
Connor, you look like you wanted to jump in.
Well, what was the process before? Right, like he could say no, but then they could like detain you or something until later. What was the process?
There was a process where there was people could convince sometimes that a blood draw wasn't necessary. Sometimes there was delays, and so people wouldn't get a blood draw. Defense attorneys have been critical and said, you've always, if declined, you always had a good chance of getting a blood draw. This apparently just makes it more automatic, so that you get it. And they say that they put the infrastructure in place that wasn't there before to be able to make sure that happens. You don't get to say no. They can take the blood draw. Good question.
It's a great topic. Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. I'm in favor of it. I mean, anything that, puts a little bit more onus on the person who could be drinking and driving, why not? And why not make the repercussions more severe?
Right, because the best thing to do for drinking and driving is deterrence. And so the stricter you make things, the more likely it is to deter.
Okay, thought two. The soundbite of the week, if you're not listening yesterday, you'll hear it today. We had the distinguished therapist, Micah Ross, on the program, and her explanation of the way men view romance as opposed to women was as insightful as it was amusing. That is so good. Now, I think this illustration is also a testament of the way the two sexes evolve. Listen closely here, Jill, and tell me if I'm onto something. Men simply do not, or at least I have not, and all of my close friends have not, changed when it comes to that. I mean, her description of that would apply to my degenerate friends when they were 21 and would still apply to them when they are 61, that mud analogy she used. But here's my question to Jill and to the other ladies. And I'm not denying at all romance and intimacy now is often about the love languages of real intimacy and acts of service and being in touch. But wasn't there a time, Jill, when you were 25 years old, it was a lot about physical attraction and eye appeal? Or am I completely wrong? Don't get mad. It's just a simple question. Isn't that men haven't changed at all? 21 to 61 still feel the same way. But women have, and it's about intimacy, being in touch and acts of service. But maybe 30 years ago, it wasn't as much.
I think you bring up a good biological fact, which is there is hormone fluctuations impact drive. And so in women have a much more complicated, and now just being understood in some ways, change in hormones as they get out of childbearing years, which is being looked at in totally different ways. And things like hormone therapy in many cases to maintain things like sex drive are certainly being looked at differently than they were 10 years ago, because things like hormones in midlife were ignored by medicine for way, way too long. By the way, the book that quote came from that Micah Ross shared is called A Tired Woman's Guide to Passionate Sex.
That's her book?
No, it's the book that she recommended that she took that quote from. And so, and I think the thing that's always been true, if you look at, and men have fluctuation in testosterone as they age as well. And so there's a lot of data out there. I won't pretend to understand all of that completely by any means. But I think Micah's point, and I've heard her talk about this before, we're friends, and is that there are differences, biological differences in drive, as well as emotional reactions that impact drive differently in men and women. And she thinks the more we understand that, the better off we are as couples. Is that fair?
Yeah. So you do think that at one time you didn't need to be romanced?
I can't say that I've noticed that change. I think it's very, very individual.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with a whole lot of factors that relate to both environmental factors and internal hormones.
Even though I brought it up, I'm going to stay out of it now. I'm in trouble here. Go ahead.
If I'm being really, really honest about this subject, getting kids out of the house is actually a really good thing for romance in many midlife couples. That is something that a lot of times it's not the will or the desire, it's the practicality. And so sometimes that can be a really good thing for couples. And without getting into boring details that nobody wants to hear, especially my kids or my in-laws who may be listening. That's all I'll say about that, for sure. Hey, this was an interesting story, I thought, that I hadn't seen anywhere else. The Wall Street Journal reporting that seniors are taking a page out of the Gen Z and Millennial playbook and doing things differently in the last 5 years when it comes to living situations than they've ever had. For instance, they are buying houses with friends, seniors in their 60s and 70s, and sometimes even early 80s, buying houses with friends and sharing them with friends, or buying houses and renting out part of their houses to friends like the millennials and the Gen Zers have been doing for a while.
Actually in the same dwelling, not...
Right, because remember how weird it was when we first started hearing about our kids, like, oh yeah, I'm renting a place, I'm renting a room from my buddy, you know, so-and-so, or I'm renting out the basement of he and his wife's house, and people in their 20s and 30s doing that. Connor, do you have friends who have done that, where somebody's the homeowner and then they rent a part of the house out from somebody else?
I don't know. Actually, I don't think so.
Okay, because my kids have some friends that have done that, where the 20-somethings, the couple will buy the house and then they'll rent out like the lower part of the house to somebody else. And
seems great.
Yeah, kind of. It's not really Airbnb, but it was inspired.
Landlord is a 75-year-old woman who gets drunk and comes downstairs.
Yes.
But in this case, in this case it won't be, right? Because you're saying you buy the house and rent out the other one.
Yeah, it's seniors who are taking a page from this, where it used to be, you owned your house, you lived in your house, and nobody else lived in there with you. And they, according to real estate statisticians and people around the country, it's becoming a lot more popular. People who travel half the year. I have some good friends who live in Salt Lake City, 5-bedroom house. They are traveling all the time, so they have put their house on Airbnb when they're not there. They said so far they've had a lot of Mormon quilters in Salt Lake City renting their house out. It's gone great. They make a bunch of money, sort of pays for their trips when they're being gone 3 to 6 months a year. It's just a different way of thinking about staying in your home longer as a senior. Great article in Wall Street Journal, is something I had not thought about at all.
By the way, a quick hello to a gentleman I just saw at Waterway who listens to the program all the time. Big fan of yours. Okay, thought 3. Potpourri. I can assure you that the very last thing on Eli Drinkwitz's mind right now is Florida, Auburn, Arkansas, and Penn State openings or potential openings. He wakes up thinking about Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia and goes to bed thinking about the defense of Vandy coach Clark Lee. But it's also in the minds of many in the media in St. Louis, many fans on social media. We had the athletic director of Mizzou on yesterday, Laird Veach, and he didn't sound like a guy who was going to lose or wanted to lose his coach. All right, I'll say it for the 10th time. I know Penn State draws 110,000, and they've won 2 national titles. I know Florida produces the second most D1 football players in the country after Texas, and I know Drink has ties in the state of Arkansas, and he coached at Auburn. but he's 42. He makes $9 million and is about to have a stadium with $250 million worth of improvements. He stays. He'll get a raise, and I'm told one of the things he's going to insist on is his assistant coaches get raises too. So this is all providing, by the way, that he goes 9-3 or 10-2, and he's a hot commodity. But I think he really is, and we don't want him to leave. Listen to just two things before I end this on Coach String. Since 2020, he's won 14 games when trailing in the fourth quarter. That's the most in the FBS. And here's another. He's won 22 straight games against unranked opponents. That's third most in the country. He's really good, and I hope and I think he stays for a long time.
Very, very good thoughts from your mouth to God's ears for all of us who are Mizzou fans and like the trajectory of the way things are going. Thought number 3 for me today, turkeys. I know this fall has flown by from my perspective, but Thanksgiving is truly coming up pretty fast, and we can expect, unfortunately, a turkey price spike. Bird flu is causing some, as avian flu is spreading, it's causing some turkey shortage fears. And your turkey is probably going to cost you more this year. It's the fresh outbreak of bird flu across the upper Midwest slashed the national turkey flock to its smallest size in 40 years. 40 years, that's pretty big. So wholesale turkey prices are already up about 40% to last year. In Minnesota alone, where a lot of the turkeys come from, 1,000 birds hit by the latest wave. Producers say they're scrambling to keep up. Retailers scrambling too. Some planning deals, but most warning the classic Thanksgiving bird is not going to be as bargain friendly as we were hoping. Of course, for us in the Midwest, that's going to be a hit in both the tradition and in the wallet. And for those of you saying, I don't really like turkey anyway, I think I'll just go with a standing beef rib roast. Well, beef is up even more. So I guess the news is put some extra pennies in your pocket to be able to pay for Thanksgiving this year for sure.
Did I hear it was at Aldi's? One of these major stores has this like incredible deal for turkey dinner.
Yeah,
it's
Aldi's
like
kind of, and I think they may be even doing it as potentially a loss leader to get people in to buy all the other stuff because it's even a little less than it was last year, countering what I think everybody else is experiencing. But yes, they've had a big promotion trying to get everybody in.
Here it is, $40. Aldi is offering a Thanksgiving meal for 2025 for 10 people for just $40. 14-pound turkey, 9 side dishes, and dessert. It's available from October 15th through December 24th. That sounds like just pick it up for a Friday night or something.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Monique, I'd like you to cook
the
this
next time Monique is out of town.
Yeah, this sounds pretty easy. Hey, Altair Travel and Cruises, our friends. Of course, you've heard McGraw this morning. He's back from his incredible trip that Altair made possible. The Disney cruise, lots of our listeners along on that, and the reports are excellent. And McGraw says it over and over again. I'll repeat it again over and over again as well. If you are planning any kind of a Disney trip or a group trip, Altair Travel and Cruises is the place to go. They think of all the details that you have never thought of before. You say, I don't want to go on a big trip, or I don't want to go on a trip with a lot of other people. That's okay too, whether it's just you and a spouse or you and your immediate family. Altair is the person that helps give you and sparks these ideas. Sometimes a lot of us get into travel ruts. We go where we're used to, and at some point we wake up and say, you know what? I want to see a different part of the country. I want to see a different part of the world. I want to travel at a different time of year than I always had to, that was based on the kids' school schedules, and I have some freedom beyond that now. That's where you go in and say, I'm thinking this, give me some ideas so I can expand those and do something completely out of the box. Altair is your travel partner to make that happen. 314-968-9600, altairtravel.com.
Every January, the gyms are full and the resolutions are big, but by February, most people have already given up. That's why Premier U helps people flip the script. Don't wait for January. Fall is the perfect time to start a weight loss journey. Premier U's personalized programs use today's most effective weight loss medications paired with expert support. Why wait to start fresh? Call Premier U today or visit premierumed.com to get started. Your future self will thank you.
Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Alliance is rebranding to Reese Nichols, a Missouri-born real estate company established 125 years ago. The same trusted agents who've served St. Louis for 45 years now have the backing of Missouri's most trusted brokerage. With offices across the metro and in-house mortgage, title, and insurance, Reese Nichols makes your move seamless. They proudly support the Ronald McDonald House, raising over $1.5 million for Missouri families. Visit ReeseNichols.com to learn more.
Got gold? Get green at Jewels on Hampton. Jewels on Hampton pays the most for your precious metals, jewelry, gems, currency, antiques, and collectibles. Jewels on Hampton buys precious and semi-precious gems and stones, scrap gold, and sterling silver. Jewels on Hampton buys and sells paper money, wristwatches, and pocket watches. They even take pianos and cars. To sum up, bring your gold chains, bracelets, rings, coins, dental gold, and more to Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton Avenue in St. Louis. And get green. Online at jewelsonhampton.com.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
We're taking part with hashtag KTRS Pink.
On social media, we'll honor survivors and those we've lost to this horrible disease.
So join us all month as we join the fight against breast cancer.
Follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram. KTRS Pink.
Presented by Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services, Show Me Healthy Women, Schrader Funeral Home and Crematory, First Community Credit Union,
and the Big 550.
KTRS Cares.
Appliance Discounters has another showroom, this time on Gravois Road, right next to the little Dairy Queen that's been there for ages. This showroom is different. It's packed with name brands, GE, LG, Bosch, that are slightly dinged, one-of-a-kind, or closeout items direct from the manufacturer. They all come with the factory warranties and all the factory rebates. You want huge savings at big discounts, theappliancediscounters.com. To find the one nearest you, including the one on Gravois Road in Afton, theappliancediscounters.com.
Are you ready for some football?
Mizzou football on the Big 550 KTRS is powered by Graybar.
High snap, good place, kick is up, and it is good.
This Saturday afternoon, Mizzou heads to Nashville, Tennessee to take on the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Pre-game at 12:30, kickoff at 2:30.
Catch all the action right here on the Big 550.
KTRS.
Presented by Graybar. For all your electrical and datacom solutions. And now, KTRS weather.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. The morning around 49 degrees, very near normal, but as the cooler air moves in, a high of just 65 Tuesday. Plenty of sunshine, but we also have some winds to deal with. Again, some wind gusts around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So cool, sunny, and windy Tuesday. Wednesday, more sunshine and cool weather, low 44, a high of 65. Winds not quite as strong, but breezy, gusts around 25 miles per hour. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton for the Big 550 KTRS.
Welcome back. Frank and Jill show on the Big 550 KTRS. It's our favorite segment. Greg Willard, KTRS legal analyst, SLU law professor with us. So much to discuss. He also served in the Ford administration. Hottest topic nationally. We're 2 weeks away from the New York mayoral race. And if it's a three-person race, Mondani wins by 20 points. If Curtis Sliwa drops out, it's like 2 or 3 points. Give us an overview, because we know what that third party or that third candidate can do to presidential elections with Ross Perot and George Bush.
Couple of thoughts. One, as you point out, if Curtis Sliwa drops out, then the margin becomes much smaller. I think Mr. Mamdani probably still wins, but it could be a spoiler. Number two, I think we all need to recognize that the fireworks and cheering and champagne bottles popping the next day will be at the Republican National Committee in Washington, D.C. Having an avowed socialist, bordering on a communist, as the Democratic mayor of New York City is a gift to the National Republican Party for which there are no words. Let's see where it comes out, but I think there will be champagne bottles popping at the RNC the day after the election, Frank.
Okay, so let's talk. There's a lot of stuff that I need help understanding because there's just all these things happening at once that have, and you know, you've got legal challenges right and left. So if you could help me interpret some of this. the commutation of George Santos, what is happening and why?
Let's go quickly into my law school classroom, constitutional law, presidential power. One of the most powerful and overarching powers that the framers of the Constitution gave to our presidents is the pardon power. Last weekend, many of our listeners may have seen news coverage of these so-called No Kings protests, that we don't want a king for our president. I understand the protesters' feelings, but the reality is there is at least one part of our Constitution that was brought over lock, stock, and barrel from England, and that is the pardon power, just like the king had a pardon power. Within that basket, then, that power, Jill, the president can grant a pardon, which basically wipes out a conviction, or he can give what is called a commutation. A commutation is what Mr. Santos received, and it normally, as in the case of Mr. Santos, involves commuting the sentence that he was given, several years in federal prison, and the forfeiture award, the fine, if you will, but the restitution forfeiture of, I think it was $370,000, and the commutation wiped that out. There may be among our listeners people who are outraged with the commutation of Mr. Santos, and there may be people cheering. As we all know, I don't take sides on the air. I'm not going to take sides on this one, but I will point out to those of our listeners who are outraged, this is why we have elections. When we vote for a president, implicit in that vote is to give that president the power of a king, the pardon power. Again, whether people like how President Trump exercised that pardon power by commuting Santos' sentence, I'll leave to people
even some
smart.
Republicans are not super thrilled about that. He seems like an interesting character to.
But again, I want to emphasize this point that yes, it is exercising a power of a king, but that is what the framers in 1788 gave to us, and we have seen it over the last 236 years. We will continue to see it.
There have been quite a few scoundrels over the years that have.
Well, there's, to be sure, that's right. There have been scoundrels, and then there have been other controversial pardons by my former boss in the White House, President Ford. His pardon of Richard Nixon is among the most controversial. But President Clinton pardoning his brother on his last full day in office, President Biden's pardons of his family members on the way out the door, et cetera, et cetera. So, again, the point is how that power is exercised can be controversial and has been controversial from time to time, but it is a power of a king that was put in at the outset of the Constitution, and at its core, that's what we're witnessing.
Sheriff Montgomery, best case, worst case scenario for him?
Two pieces to that, Frank. On his removal from office, the best case is that he keeps his office of sheriff. Worst case is he leaves it. So it's either or. On the criminal side, if we believe the facts as alleged in the indictment and then the facts as alleged the other day at the bond revocation hearing where he was ordered to jail pending his trial, if those are to be believed, certainly the worst case is that young man is going to be spending several years in a federal prison, period.
Wow. Super interesting to keep following that case from a legal perspective for sure. Okay, another, this came from a listener question from yesterday, next time you were on, and so we were lucky that you were on today. Is it legal for President Trump to fire federal employees during the shutdown?
Probably. Let me break that down quickly. If we go back where we were a few moments ago to 1788, And if we just sort of sit in the little lily pad of a president's powers under Article 2 of the Constitution, his powers to fire an employee of the executive branch is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
What has happened over time, culminating in the late 1800s, is that presidents of both parties abused that power. In the late 1800s, Congress passed significant civil service reforms to protect federal government employees from some pretty outrageous things that happened to them back in the late 1800s. So we hear this phrase, the civil service system, Schedule C employees and the like. Well, fast forward then to 2025, what we have to look to in answer to the texter's question is more than just the president's power, is whether the civil service laws can be meshed with this power that presidents have. I think what we're going to find is that buried within the semicolons and commas of the Civil Service Act, there is authority for a president to permanently fire civil servants during a furlough period.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be thousands and thousands of individuals who will probably be subject to lawsuits on that. But I think what we will find is that Congress, on the one hand, tried to protect these people, but within those protections, there are probably some listeners would call them loopholes, where a president during a furlough, I think, can permanently terminate substantial swaths of civil servants.
The legality of President Trump sending the National Guard into Portland.
Really difficult question on multiple levels. Let me drill down quickly. First, to remind our listeners, National Guard units, if you will, are state entities. So there is a Missouri National Guard, an Illinois National Guard, and the commanders-in-chief of those National Guard units are the governors. Governor Pritzker over in Illinois, and he's been particularly vocal, and Governor Kehoe in Missouri. There is a federal statute, just like we were talking with Jill about civil servants, there's a federal statute that gives our presidents the power to federalize those state National Guard. So some of our listeners may remember back in the 1950s, President Eisenhower federalized the Arkansas National Guard to facilitate federal court orders for desegregation. So that's the mechanism, Frank. Where that gets muddied up is the policy. And President Trump has sought to federalize in Oregon and, as we have seen across the river in Illinois, those states' National Guard in connection with ICE activities in Portland and Chicago. Let's not confuse the policy with these constitutional issues of federalizing the National Guard. So far, I think the courts have pretty well begun to settle in that President Trump federalizing the Oregon National Guard and the Illinois National Guard, I think the courts are settling in that he had the authority to do that Congress gave him. As to what he does with that and the orders that he and his subordinates give, that's the policy, Frank, and that's where I think we're going to continue to hear the controversy.
Well, that's awesome. You're great as usual. Greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much, sir.
Great to be with both of you on a sad day for those of us who were pulling for the Mariners last night. So,
yeah. What a game.
Stay safe.
Thanks so much, Greg. Capital Advisory Group, our friend Jeff Zufall, Senior Tax Strategist, Wealth Advisor with Capital Advisory Group. And those are two very important hats to wear. If you're the person who advises you on your investments and is planning for your retirement doesn't have a very, very, very strong background and knowledge as an accountant in taxes as well, you are probably selling yourself a little bit short, because the chances are good that you're not taking full advantage of tax laws and you may be overpaying on your taxes. Jeff is passionate about this. He wrote a best-selling book, Keep What's Yours, the name of the show he does every single weekend here on KTRS with Josh Gilbert as well. It's just a real advantage, and it's why so many of our listeners every day call Capital Advisory Group at 636-394-5524 or go to capitaladvisorygrp.com to set up that first appointment and get your money working for you.
Some of my fondest memories as a kid is heading down to the hardware store. You had to pick up a couple of nails, a couple of screws, maybe a gallon of paint, whatever it may be, right? It was your friendly neighborhood hardware store. Well, those don't exist anymore in St. Louis, except for Schnarr's Hardware. They have two locations in Webster Groves and in Clayton Road in Ladue. Schnarr's Hardware is that place where you go in and you can get that bucket of paint, you can get a couple screws. The advice is always free. And the one thing about Schnarr's Hardware that every single family hardware store used to have, and that is the smell. It smells like a hardware store. It's got the selection. I don't know how they do it. It's a small store, but they got everything you ever need. They got the paint. They got paint matching. They've got big green eggs. They've got screws and nails and everything a hardware store should have. Schnarr's Hardware, 2 locations, 1 great hardware store. Schnarr's Hardware, we'll see you there.
Truck drivers, the holiday rush is here. Take advantage by becoming a Schneider driver. By driving for one of America's busiest carriers, you'll stay busy during the holiday season and throughout the new year. Plus, as a Schneider driver, you'll have access to top quality driver support and newer equipment spec'd with the latest safety and comfort features that drivers want. Don't wait. Get a jump on 2026 by exploring jobs in your area today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Want to get away in your own hometown? How about Innsbruck? Just 45 minutes from St. Louis, 7,500 acres, 100-plus lakes, 18-hole championship golf course, nature trails, event spaces, and so much more. Wedding venues, wedding weekends, corporate retreats. They've got A-frames and tree houses and custom homes. Find out more at Innsbruck-resort.com.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. And have a banner day.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
From the same guys who brought you the watering bowl, say hello to the number 2 crew. The number 2 crew will visit your yard once a week in St. Louis City, St. Louis County, or St. Charles County, and they'll take care of your dog's business. Think of the number 2 crew as your yard's best friend. 314-717-8880 or the number2crew.com. The number 2 crew reporting for duty each and every week in your backyard. The number 2 crew or the number2crew.com.
Can I answer one text here?
Of course.
All right. Frank, have you watched the last task. I want to know more about Sam. I just love that kid, and my heart wants to know he's okay. Isn't that unbelievable? I feel the same way, that you have no connection. It's all Hollywood. There's not really a Sam, and you just root so hard for like a little boy or a character in any type of show. But I watched it last night. It's riveting.
Oh,
my
good to know.
gosh, I cannot get enough of it.
We haven't, at your recommendation, we're going to watch it for sure. But the show we did watch, and we had to really hold ourselves off to not keep watching it and to go to bed, was Diplomat. The next season just dropped.
That's 3 seasons.
Yeah, this is the third season.
I was actually considering that because I get a little time.
I think it's really good.
Beautiful. I love her.
Yeah, and her character here, you forget it's her pretty quickly. She really takes on the persona of this reluctant diplomat, and I think it's really a cool premise.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, it's very, very good. Hey, guys, you have about an hour before many of you are going to be getting up and deciding what you're going to have for lunch. We'll tell you right now what you should do. 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, the back of the Phillips 66 station at Clayton Road and 141. Some of the best barbecue around, for sure the best desserts you've had in a very long time, because they are homemade, they are creative, and they are always out of this world. Then the Rick and Carol Gross, who not only own the gas station, but are foodies and have been now recognized multiple times as one of the best gas stations in the United States to get food from. All kinds of different places giving them those rankings. Find out today why that's true. Visit 3 Bay Barbecue and Bakery, Phillips 66 station at Clayton Road and 141. Lots more coming up right after the news.
Hey, it's Heidi, and I've only sold 2 houses, but I know how stressful it can be. I also know the team at Lauren Risley Realty makes the entire process as easy as possible. I watched Lauren work with friends and my parents, and I can say she is top-notch. She doesn't just know the market, she knows what to look for in a home, and that includes red flags. And through all of it, she is calm, cool, and kind. So if you're in the market to buy or sell a home, or if you just have a question, call Lauren Risley Realty, 314-775-0684, or go to LaurenRisleyRealty.com.
Are you looking for a simple, clean, budget-friendly, no surprises, no gimmicks remodel of your bathroom? Michael's Baths is who you call. Right now, when you call Michael's Baths at 636-775-0800, you'll get an estimate that's 30 to 50% less of everybody else, and they'll throw in a free shower door or $500 off a bath remodel. Michael's Baths, for 30-plus years, guaranteed happiness. MichaelsBaths.com.
Mama's on the Hill is the legendary birthplace of the Toasted Rav, and Mama's is the premier family restaurant on the Hill. Make a reservation online at mamasonthehill.com.
Mizzou football.
It's a rushing touchdown, and Missouri extends the lead.
KTRS AM, FM 1061, K291CW St. Louis.
The fragile ceasefire between Hamas and Israel drawing senior Trump administration officials back to Israel. Vice President J.D. Vance joining U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner at a briefing today in southern Israel where U.S. troops are stationed. Vance says both sides are committed to the ceasefire despite recent skirmishes.
Right now, I feel very optimistic. Can I say with 100% certainty that it's going to work? No. But you don't do difficult things by only doing what's 100% certain. You do difficult things by trying, and that's what the President of the United States has asked us to do.
The push to recover remaining deceased hostages continues, along with phase 2 of getting Hamas to disarm. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is in Tel Aviv.
What we heard from the Vice President is this kind of ultimatum to Hamas, disarm. What we didn't hear is much of what the incentive is for Hamas. Why would Hamas actually disarm? He was asked about that later on in that sort of question and answer with reporters. And again, he just put the warning out there. Look, unless Hamas disarms, very bad things are going to happen, he said.
The Senate is not expected to take up any measures aimed at ending the government shutdown today. It's now 3 weeks in, and it's impacting key programs. ABC's Jay O'Brien has more.
One of the most significant impacts of the ongoing government shutdown is looming over tens of millions of the poorest Americans, a delay in SNAP food assistance. Earlier this month, the acting administrator of SNAP said by the end of the month, the program won't have enough money if the shutdown continues. SNAP serves more than 42 million low-income Americans. And now major states, including Texas and Pennsylvania, saying that come November 1st, if the shutdown persists, they will not be distributing SNAP food assistance benefits. Jay O'Brien, ABC News, the Capitol.
Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy is now in prison to begin serving his 5-year sentence on corruption charges, found guilty last month of conspiring to seek funding from Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. You're listening to 8.
Everyone's talking about these weight loss drugs, and it's a good thing we've got Dr. Joe Molesky with us, a St. Louis native and board-certified primary care physician. Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
The magic cure is these weight loss shots. They're injected once weekly. They're not like the old medications that you've seen 20, 30 years ago. These medications actually work. They're injected once weekly, and patients see within the first 90 days 10 to 15 pounds down. It simply works, and that's why I recommend it to all of my patients. You simply go online, book an appointment, you fill out a health questionnaire form, you get an appointment on our schedule. It's all telemedicine based. It's all done from your home, and then you meet with me or one of my nurse practitioners, and then after the 10, 15-minute consult, the medication is delivered right to your door discreetly, and you get started right now on your weight loss journey.
And you want to start to lose weight? None better than to call stlmedweightloss.com and ask Dr. Joe. stlmedweightloss.com.
.61 degrees at 11:03 with KTRS News. I'm Steve Potter. Following a private ceremony that was held last month at the Missouri Supreme Court, Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway was sworn in yesterday at a public ceremony at the state capitol. She's the state's 45th Attorney General and the first woman to hold that position. During her remarks, she praised those working in her office.
When you hear about a big win for the state of Missouri, it's due to the hard work of those 400 men and women in the office.
Hanaway was appointed by Republican Governor Kehoe in August to fill the rest of Andrew Bailey's term after he took a job as co-deputy director of the FBI. Today, Mayor Kara Spencer announced the opening of the St. Louis Recovers Outreach Center to help residents affected by the May 16th tornado connect with services offered by the city, including the newly launched private property assistance application. The Outreach Center is located at the Urban League Women's Business Center on Natural Bridge. The Illinois Liquor Control Commission will host the 2025 Virtual Youth Alcohol Awareness Summit tomorrow. The goal is to provide information and education to everyone, especially minors and young adults, about the risks associated with alcohol consumption. A South St. Louis City man is facing life behind bars for the murder of his girlfriend. That sentence handed down yesterday to 41-year-old Derek Smith in the 2024 shooting death of 39-year-old Norma Riano. A St. Louis jury convicted Smith in August of second-degree murder, armed criminal action, and unlawful possession of a weapon by a felon for the fatal shooting, which occurred in July of 2024 in the couple's apartment on Alaska Avenue. Despite a government shutdown, St. Louis's Gateway Arch is open for a limited time to celebrate 60 years.
The Arch opened on Saturday and will remain open until Sunday, November 2nd, with support from several local partnerships. Explore St. Louis joins the Gateway Arch Park Foundation, the Arch Cafe, and the Regional Arts Commission of St. Louis to provide financial support. The Visitor Center will be open 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, with 60th anniversary celebration occurring October 25th through 28th. Even with the shutdown, visitors will be able to walk through the museum, ride the tram to the top, shop at the store, and eat at the cafe. Sobe Bay, KTRS News.
And travel company Exotica has released the results of a survey identifying the top outdoor spots to experience the fall colors. In Missouri, they are Riverview Park in Hannibal, followed by the Ruth and Paul Henning Conservation Area Overlook in Branson, and coming in third, the Ellis Porter Overlook in Jefferson City. This KTRS Business Minute brought to you by Walter Knoll Florist, the place for all your floral needs. Place your order anytime at WKF.com. St. Louis-based Schnucks Markets has closed its major deal for 51 stores in Wisconsin. Schnuck Family Holding Company acquired 100% of the shares of the parent of Scogan's Festival Foods and Hometown Grocers, Inc. Festival has 42 stores and Hometown 9. Terms of the deal have not been disclosed. The market's brought to you by JBL Financial. Tune in to Straight Talk on Retirement Saturday mornings from 9 to 11. The Dow up 289 points at 46,995. NASDAQ down 1 at 22,989. And the S&P 500 down 9, or I should say the S&P 500 is up 9 at 6,744. In sports, the Blues are home tonight against the LA Kings. The Kings have won just once so far in 6 tries this year. And you can hear from Eli Drinkwitz and Mike Kelly tonight on Tiger Talk. It starts at 7 p.m. right here on your home for Mizzou, the Big 550. We're looking for sunny skies today, an afternoon high near 64. Clear tonight, an overnight low in the mid-40s. Then sunny tomorrow with a high of 66. At 11:07, sunshine, 61 degrees at the Gold Tower at Westport. Steve Potter, KTRS News, the talk of St. Louis.
Welcome back. This is the Frank and Jill Show on the Big 550 KTRS. Tuesdays in the 11 o'clock hour. It's our pleasure to welcome the great Joe Holloman from the Post-Dispatch. Joe, we had a therapist on yesterday, Micah Ross, and she described the difference between the sexual drive of men and women like this. You listen to it and then your reaction.
Standing in a pile of elephant feces, see a beautiful woman walk by, think about sex. A woman can be on her way to the bedroom with full intentions of having a sexual encounter, see a dirty sock on the floor, and it's all over.
Thoughts, please, Joe.
I would never disagree with a woman on anything, much less in that situation. I will certainly agree with the part about the elephant feces, maybe walking the line, possibly. But, I think in general terms, she absolutely hit the nail on the head.
Well played.
Well, did someone once say that men are the only people who think that sex is a cure for a headache?
That's good.
But other than that, I think she kind of hit the mark. So,
all right, let's get to some news headlines. Cori Bush starts her quest to regain the U.S. House seat, and she's doing it with less money. Explain, please.
Okay. I did a report. She was still filing quarterly reports. Her committee, since she lost in 2024, still remained active, so she was filing reports. And in July, she had filed that she was about $320 and change in the hole for cash on hand and owed $13,000. So now that was the period covering up until June 30th of this year. So July, August, and September was the subject of a report that she filed last week, a day late. That would be the next 3 months. So one would figure that in that period of time before she announced that possibly she was picking up some money, but she claimed getting zero donations through July, August, September, and actually ended up losing another $300 out of the cash account. So the cash account is about $620, $630 in the hole, and still owes about $13,000, $14,000 to vendors. So now if there are donations that are out there, we should see those in subsequent reports. She announced her candidacy was October 1st or October 2nd. So it's theoretically possible, altogether possible, that she did pick up some donations, but it doesn't seem to be that there was a whole lot of work being done in July, August, and September. So I think she is starting certainly at a disadvantage. Wesley Bell's last report showed around $600,000, and that's not including any political action committee money. That's just the Wesley Bell campaign, has about $600,000. So Ms. Bush was at the No Kings protest over the weekend and was very conspicuous and prevalent in the presentation, but we'll see how that translates into actually getting dollars, because as we all know, there's a lot of things that campaigns run on, energy and accessibility, but what they mostly run on is money.
Josh Hawley is talking about data centers. Joe, I got to be honest, I hadn't heard of the term data center, I don't think, until about 3 or 4 months ago. And now it seems like it's all anybody is talking about. And he's in a little bit of a fight, even with other Republicans, over his position on these. Help us understand.
And I am with you when it comes to data centers. And I think probably most of the world, unless you are incredibly tech savvy, kind of wondered. I mean, we'd known about cell farms. I mean, that was kind of one of those things, only because some bicycle trails go by some in Illinois. But these data centers processing vast amounts of data, it's kind of become one of these things that when there's no other development or a failed development, now they're looking at the Armory in St. Louis. But what can we do with this? Nobody has office buildings anymore because too many people work from home. So let's build these giant data centers. And there's a couple of concerns, along with the old NIMBY thing of nobody wants a business near their house, is the vast amounts of energy that these data farms use, these data centers use, and how does that get passed on to the consumer because of development deals and incentive programs? How much of this vast amount of electricity, which I've seen numbers like 40 times the normal amount that a regular business of that size would use up, how is this all going to get paid for? Will everybody's electrical rates go up to help serve these data centers? And it's been a concern. People have mentioned it. St. Charles, St. Louis, that's been a concern. So Josh Hawley demanded about a week or so ago that Ameren UE send some information about, okay, how much is this going to use? How does this not get passed on to the average Joe and Joan consumer of Ameren product? And he requested this information. Cindy O'Loughlin, the Senate president, also a Republican from Shelbina, Missouri, in the state Senate, immediately sent him a letter basically telling him he was wrong. So that there was a bill that the Senate passed, that the legislature passed, that said consumers would be protected from unreasonable and unjust charges. And the problem with that is there is no number with unreasonable and unjust, which means a bunch of attorneys will get together to argue what they consider to be unreasonable. So she shot this off like sort of a stand down, Senator. We've taken care of it here locally. This did not sit well in the halls of Washington, D.C. So Hawley immediately snapped back, pointed out that Senator O'Loughlin had received $20,000 in donations from Ameren and asked him to shut up about it. And he said, not a chance. These things eat up vast amounts of power, and we want to find out. And it reminded me of, if you go back about a year and a half in the early March or April of 2024, when Senator Hawley was trying to get the North County, the Coldwater Creek landfill recompensation plan through, Ann Wagner kind of took a shot of it to a reporter from the Kansas City Star, said, I don't really know if that whole RECA thing's going to pass because, it's kind of expensive. And Hawley went after Ann Wagner, also a Republican of even higher stature than state senator, and said, St. Louis deserves better than this. Actually took a very hard shot at Ann Wagner at the time. So it's clear that, one, Josh Hawley is not afraid to go after people of his own party, and two, he doesn't seem to tolerate criticism well. So there's kind of two lessons to be learned here. But we haven't heard any more from, I tried to get a hold of Senator O'Loughlin, did not return calls. Was going to get her take on the situation. But, yeah, they're arguing about it, and it's one of these things that when I've done some preliminary research into it, it's one of those when you say, well, will utility rates go up? The answer you seem to get is sort of this, well, they could, or they couldn't. So we don't know yet.
Speaking of Senator Hawley, he and U.S. Representative Bob Onder both have made moves to prevent spending taxpayers' money on transgender medical procedures and surgeries. Now, two-part question here. One, where do you think our state, you have a good pulse for the state, where do you think our state stands on this? I mean, do you think they're in support of this, not using taxpayers' money? And then how far along are they in the process of getting this accomplished?
Good question. I think that as far as the state, I think that we would be opposed if you looked at, let's have a majority vote tomorrow, opposed to taxpayers' money for transgender operations. And I think that's the key here on the issue. And it so often gets blurred on this whole subject, is there is a difference between should people be allowed to have transgender procedures? I think a majority of Missourians would go, okay, do you think taxpayers should pay for it? Hold the phone. It's the same way when it comes with transgender procedures. Should people be allowed to have them? Sure. What about minors? Hold the phone. So I think you can never look at this, but what happens is in the simplistic times that politicians of both sides love to boil everything down to, it's this, are you pro-transgender or are you anti-transgender? And as usual, it falls somewhere in between. I think our state probably doesn't have a problem with adults making their own decision on their own dime to go do these procedures. Now, when it starts involving minors or when it starts involves taxpayers, I think that's where you probably would then quite easily fall into Missouri would be opposed to that. And I think you'd see the numbers even in the urban areas change in St. Louis and Kansas City. The number of people who would be opposed to transgender procedures is very small in both major cities. But when it comes to taxpayers, I think you'd see at least the needle move on that. And that's what they're talking about here, is not that the procedures would be outlawed. It just would be that you couldn't use it. The taxpayers couldn't help support it. And where that mainly comes in, and now you look at the Hyde Amendment, the Hyde Amendment is the one that says taxpayer money cannot be used to provide abortions. But what Josh Hawley's bill does, and what Bob Onder's letters refers to on transgender procedures, is that sometimes the Obamacare programs can write the language that allows it into a specific insurance plan. And if you use Obamacare, and if you use what they call the HSA, the money you set aside that doesn't get taxed for medical stuff that you can take out of your check before taxes, that can get used for it. You are, in essence, then using a tax break or tax money to fund it. So that's where this comes down to, is that very specific lane that says, we're not saying you can't have procedures. We're saying that you can't have them paid for with these government-backed programs.
Joe, there was a bipartisan effort in the city of St. Louis to get a grant for a factory in North St. Louis, and President Trump has indicated that he wants to pull that funding. And not surprisingly, Wesley Bell immediately came out and said that's insane. This was something that everybody agreed on. Governor Kehoe now, article right below your column today in the Post-Dispatch, says he too really would like to see President Trump restore that grant for that factory. It's an important part of some things that he essentially promised in the election to Missourians, and he wants to see that come back. What's your take on this?
I think it's one of the, I'm glad to see that the governor did that. I mean, as we have known from the 4 years before and from being president now, Donald Trump says a lot of things. And sometimes he follows through on them. A lot of times I always think that there's the unspoken words in front of some of Donald Trump's things are, wouldn't it be great if? And then he says this. I think he cuts things, he adds things, he says we're going to do this, whether or not it moves. They're looking to cut money. And so, is Donald Trump actually sitting there going through the checklist of projects? Probably not. So what you're left with is okay, government shutdown, and we want to cut spending, and I'm against these green initiatives, which batteries read green initiatives so hard. I think it probably fell in somebody's list of find me all the bills that mentioned batteries in them, some efficiency person said, and it got cut. So now we'll see what Governor Kehoe, a Republican, goes back to the administration and says, this actually could go a long way in helping an area of our city in St. Louis. The Missouri Republicans back this bill. People who vote for you, Mr. President, and support you, they also support this battery plant. And I hate to say it, but at least we'll see. But it's clear that if there's one thing we do know about President Trump, he's willing to deal. And so we'll hope that the Republicans can get a much-needed industry and jobs and something beneficial for the north side of St. Louis if they can get it restored.
Joe, great stuff.
I can't make any predictions of how that's going to work, but,
Joe, great stuff as usual. We will talk next week. Thank you, sir.
See you guys.
All right. Joe Holloman, Post-Dispatch.
Maybe if you woke up especially this morning, and we're a little chilly at your house, and we're like, gosh, yep, it happened, just like it almost always does here. We had the air conditioning on a few days ago, and it's time to turn the heat on as well. And, of course, we know air conditioning units, if we ignore them, it can really impact the ability of the motor to work efficiently and can sometimes cause them to burn out if there's a stick or a nest or something that gets in there in the off season. But our furnaces, it can be downright dangerous if we don't have them cleaned and checked before we turn them on when the weather gets cold. It's just a very good idea to have somebody take a look and make sure the flues are clear. And at the very least, you need to make sure that you've changed the filter on yours and have a carbon monoxide detector in your house. And then you need to make an appointment with our friends at Premier Heating and Cooling. Have them come out, check to make sure your heating unit is operating as it's supposed to make sure that it'll keep you nice and cozy and warm and safe throughout the winter season. I've got my appointment tomorrow. Very much looking forward to the highly trained technician from Premier Heating and Cooling to come out to check things out, because I was a little chilly this morning, and if I'd already had that clean and check done, I might have flipped it on just to make things a little cozier and warmer on my toesies as I was walking around this morning making my tea. Premier Heating and Cooling, excellent record with the Better Business Bureau, excellent record with many of our listeners who've reached out and because they've heard such good things about them from us and said they are a great company, they give great service, and they're just top-notch professionals. PremierHeatingCooling.net, 636-916-1122.
The University of Missouri St. Louis offers academic programs at the undergraduate, graduate, doctoral, and professional levels to fit any passion, purpose, and schedule. At UMSL, more is what moves us. Find your more at more.umsl.edu.
It's Sarah Haynes from The View. Today, stronger immunity and better nutrition are more important than ever. That's why Eggland's Best gives you and your family more. Compared to ordinary eggs, Eggland's Best provides 6 times more vitamin D and 10 times more vitamin E, all helping you to maintain a strong immune system and better overall health. Plus, you get all that farm-fresh, delicious taste. These are no ordinary times, so why choose an ordinary egg? Only Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
John Beal Roofing has been proudly serving homeowners and businesses in the St. Louis metro area on both sides of the river in Missouri and Illinois for over 3 generations. A dependable roof begins with a team you can count on, and that's exactly what you get with John Beal Roofing. Recognized as one of Roofing Contractor Magazine's top 100 roofing companies, John Beal Roofing offers 24/7 emergency service and industry-leading warranties, including a lifetime workmanship warranty for total peace of mind. From upgrading an aging roof or completing a full replacement, the team at John Beal Roofing delivers solutions that are built to code, built to last, and handled with expert care. John Beal also responds quickly with reliable storm damage services backed by decades of experience and 24/7 emergency support. Get started today for expert service and a free, no obligation estimate by calling 1-800-NEW-ROOF. That's 1-800-NEW-ROOF.
Hey, Heidi Glaus here, asking you to join us weekly as we present the KTRS Book Club, presented by the St. Louis County Library for readers of every generation. Books transport us anywhere our imagination wants to go. They are absolutely magical. The KTRS Book Club will introduce you to local and national authors, events, and special programs presented by the St. Louis County Library every week from 3 to 6 right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Health insurance can feel complicated, but Medica health plans are different. See, we're nonprofit, which means people first, not shareholders. And we're right here in St. Louis with affordable plans for local care you trust. Your doctors, your hospitals, to help you feel your best. With Medica, your health coverage can feel a bit simpler. And now, we're here for you. Medica Health Plans. You're not just covered,
you're cared for.
Zero is your hero at HW Kia. 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, or 0% for 48 months. Even 0 tariff pricing on every clearly marked new HW Kia in stock. Currently stuck in your loan or lease? Big D, the trade man, wants to get you released. Up to 120% over fair market value for your trade. Every clearly marked new HW Kia. 0 down, 0 payments for 90 days, or 0% for 48 months. Even gas and all-wheel drive Sportage and Sorrento SUVs. Have a job clearing $450 a week? You're practically approved. So bring your trade and lease a new Seltos S, Nero LX, or Soul. Just $99 a month. $49.95 due. And you guessed it, 0 security deposit. But when they're gone, they're gone. You heard right. Choose your new Kia and drive for $99 a month. That's less than the cost of a daily cup of coffee. Only at HWKia.com. Unapproved credit, not all qualified. Plus tax, title, license, 587, title, and registration processing fee. Negative equity, refinancing, and new loan. Rebates and incentives to dealer. 24-month, 10,000-mile lease. $49.95 due. Offers not a combination. Expires September 6, 2025.
It's the Big Sports Show with sports director Brendan Lisi. Weeknights 7 to 9 on the Talk of St. Louis. The Big 550. KTRS.
St. Louis is home to more than 80,000 University of Missouri St. Louis alumni, where they drive the region's economy and contribute to its social and cultural well-being. At Elmsville, more is what moves us. Find your more and build more connections at more.umsl.edu.
Want a song?
Around my mind like the song on the radio.
Want a quote? It's the song and quote of the day on the Frank and Jill Show. Right here on the Big 550 KTRS.
Welcome back, everybody. Time check, 11:28. Frank and Jill Show. You're listening to KTRS, the Big 550, the Talk of St. Louis. Jill Farmer, Frank Cusimano, Connor McCarthy here as well. And it's always, all these many years later, very interesting always to hear people's stories about their fandom of the Beatles back in the day, which Beatles were their favorite, which ones they went on to follow their career as solo artists. Were you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where were you in terms of Beatles fandom?
Oh, I'd say 7 or 8. Yeah, I was a big fan. It was always a debate, who was better, Elvis or the Beatles, in our family and stuff.
And did you have a favorite Beatle that, because a lot of people love Paul McCartney. I have friends that went to see him in concert last week up in Iowa, said it was an amazing 3-hour show. His energy's just out of this world.
Yeah, I guess he'd be number 1.
Yeah. I've seen John's seen Paul McCartney. I have not. And I've seen Ringo on his Ringo and the All-Star Band tour that's come through St. Louis a couple of times, and we saw him, and he was very entertaining. I mean, he's not the greatest singer in the world and not the greatest dancer in the world, but he's an interesting interviewer. We're going to hear from him in just a second. At the age of 85, what he had to say to Dan Rather, you guys will find intriguing. But first, let's listen to a song you're going to like from him. If you ever took guitar lessons, this is always a good, easy one to learn because it's a pretty simple guitar. It's a pretty simple chord progression for sure. A pretty simple song. But Dan Rather on his Access Online show.
Oh gosh, this is recent.
Sat down with Ringo Starr, who is 85.
And Dan Rather is 91.
And asked him, and they both sounded pretty great. But he asked Ringo Starr, let's just put it out there. What's the truth about how well the Beatles got along? And this is what Ringo had to say. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. And his whole life, I mean, I think he married Barbara Bach like in early 80s, and 3 kids. For being like a part of the most famous band, maybe the history of the world, he's had kind of a fairly normal life.
Yeah, and
he's worth $350 million.
And I think there's something to kind of pull away from that, just from we all and even to Joe's point earlier, we tend to think about things as all or nothing or black or white and very binary thinking. And he's like, yeah, we had trouble getting along, and yeah, there were issues, but also we made great music together, and we really worked hard, and even if we drove each other crazy, I guess the benefit of time, he can look back and say there was still a lot of good that came out of this, even though we were fighting a lot in some of the years when we were producing most prolifically. And I think it's that both and part of life that is kind of good for us to remember. Often things are not all one thing or all the other.
Well, it's just like in any work atmosphere, although theirs is the most celebrated, band of all time. But like any great teams, boy, those guys seem like they just had this great chemistry. And you find out later, they weren't all that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Well, he said, and I think he even says it in this one, that they were friends. They were friends, and it was just the kind of the working together element that kind of drove division or some problems personally. But that they were friends. It wasn't like it was four strangers coming together to make some music.
Absolutely, it wasn't like the Monkees or whatever. It was contrived. And I think to your point as well. Even when you're four good friends, when you get pressure tested by the fame and the varying degrees of what's happening in each other's lives and relationships that come and go and the way that those impacted everybody's behavior within the group. Those are just all very human nature. It's very understandable why that happened. So I'm guessing.
Bach, his
I
wife,
was just going to ask you about her.
Was a Bond girl, correct?
Yes, she was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Too, by the way.
She sure does. She's aging very well, and not in a I've had a bunch of plastic surgery kind of way. If you look at her, I
gotta tell you too, Ringo Starr. He's 81.
85.
85. He looks pretty good too.
Yeah, she was in The Spy Who Loved Me, and then do you remember her from that? I think it was a kind of a bomb, but it sure was sure in the zeitgeist of conversation in the early '80s. Caveman, that movie. I think it was not a lot of clothes worn, and then I believe there wasn't a lot of dialogue, or if any dialogue. The whole thing was just sort of like acting out. If I have a vague memory of that, you guys can fact check me on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line and tell me where I'm off on that for sure.
Net worth $350 million.
So he's doing okay. Don't cry for him.
Great stat here by one of our texters. Ringo Starr is the only ex-Beatle to have 7 consecutive top 10 hits on the Hot 100 in the 1970s. I thought Paul McCartney and Wings was just loaded with hits, but that's a pretty good stat.
Yeah, very good.
What's interesting about Ringo is he almost died when he was a kid a couple of times, and he may end up being the one that lives the longest. Another fluky. All 3 guys that drummed with the Beatles are still alive.
Is that true?
All 3 guys that drummed with the Beatles.
Wow, very good.
Yeah, Pete Best is still alive.
Pete Best still here with us. That's very, very cool. Somebody who's working very hard right now. We are in the enrollment period beginning October 15th, goes until December 7th for Medicare, is our friend Ryan Raphael, the Medicare man. And this is just a friendly reminder that I know that it can be one of those things you want to put off, and then you put it off, and there's penalties, and all kinds of things are tricky. Or maybe you've changed providers, or maybe something in your personal health has changed. Or maybe you took the advice, or you know somebody who is taking the advice of a neighbor or a friend or somebody who isn't a trusted professional on this subject, and you want to say, hey, before you make any decisions, before you just go with whoever you got the flyer from yesterday, why don't you check out and make sure that you have the best person or the best company taking care of you when it comes to things like Medicare Advantage plans and supplements, and how do you understand all of that and make sense of it? Ryan Raphael can do that for you. He is the Medicare man. 314-368-6808 or visit MedicareManSTL.com for the right plan. Call the Medicare Man.
And now, KTRS weather.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. The morning around 49 degrees, very near normal, but as the cooler air moves in, a high of just 65 Tuesday. Plenty of sunshine, but we also have some winds to deal with. Again, some wind gusts around 35 to 40 miles per hour. So cool, sunny, and windy Tuesday. Wednesday, more sunshine and cool weather, low 44, a high of 65. Winds not quite as strong, but breezy, gusts around 25 miles per hour. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton for the Big 550 KTRS.
Dr. Joe, it can get very confusing, but the one thing we need to know is GLP-1, right? That's the magic cure.
Yeah, they're on the med, and these medications are used, these GLP-1s, for reducing inflammation in your body. I get so many folks that are like, wow, I don't have the knee pain. I don't have the...
Because once you start losing weight, all these other things naturally happen to you in a positive way. Not just talk about the deals for KTRS listeners at stlmedweightloss.com.
All KTRS listeners, they get $50 to $100 off their first month. And what's beautiful about it too, hey, I get it. The economy, what we just had, guys, things are difficult right now, but we make the plan work for you. We have financing options. We make this work for you because we realize how important it is to get down in your weight, get your confidence back, and really start feeling like the old you.
Call stlmedweightloss.com and ask Dr. Joe. stlmedweightloss.com.
Let's talk about a getaway where you're not spending all the time on the road. How about Innsbruck? Think about it. You could go from your desk to a canoe and do some fishing in about 25, 30 minutes. They've got A-frames, they got tree houses, or if you're looking for a place to live that's away from hustle and bustle, custom homes and condos as well. It is absolutely gorgeous. Have you been out? Have you looked? Go to Innsbruck-resort.com to find your getaway.
Everybody loves good barbecue, and everybody wants to know where the next great barbecue place is. And if you're looking for an overnight sensation, it's only taken them 10 years. Three Bay Barbecue and Bakery, Woods Mill and Clayton Road. There is a gas station, West County Phillips 66 gas station. In that gas station, in the back, for 10 years, some of the best barbecue in town. Bring a friend and spread the word. Three Bay Barbecue and Bakery. Don't forget about the bakery. 3baybarbecueandbakery.com.
Recently, a good friend of mine was changing the light fixture in their kitchen, and they took the light fixture off the ceiling, and they looked inside the ceiling and said, what is the phone number to Michael Baldy? If they would have listened to me, they would have put Michael Baldy's phone number in their phone, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. So here you go. The next time you need an electrician, you need to remember Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. So the phone number, 314-968-9999. Indoor, outdoor, an old Victorian home, knob and tube wiring, and anything and everything in between. You see, Michael Baldy is a licensed electrician, and he has a team ready to go. Whether it's something for the ceiling in the kitchen, something for the lights for the holidays, whatever it may be, Michael Baldy and Baldy Electric. BaldyElectric.com, 314-968-9999, because everybody needs a good electrician on speed dial. BaldyElectric.com.
Truck drivers, don't miss out on the unmatched consistency of a Schneider driving job. At Schneider, you can find a driving position that fits your lifestyle and goals, all while getting the pay you deserve. Plus, Schneider drivers operate state-of-the-art, well-maintained equipment and have access to award-winning benefits and a 24/7 support team. Explore Schneider's huge selection of driving jobs today and find your perfect fit at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
The McGraw-Millhaven Morning Show from 6 to 10 wants to hear from you. Join us on the 9 in the morning to voice your opinion, topic you want to talk about, questions you have, or if you just want to school McGraw. We'll take your phone calls and texts. No other station in the St. Louis area opens the airwaves to voice your opinion live.
We are live and local, and you make us who we are.
The Big 550 KTRS. Depend on it.
The Bommarito Automotive Group is Missouri's #1 automotive group. They've sold over 1 million vehicles by giving you a better price, a better selection, and more for your trade. You can shop them online, see their entire inventory online at Bommarito.com.
He's so good.
We joke about that sometimes in television when you're interviewing somebody really great. Don't Farley it up. Just ask some questions. Don't suck up too much. That's so good, though. Gosh, I don't know. I think his best character ever on Saturday Night Live is the strip off with Patrick Swayze. Down by the River, really good. But this was one of his best.
Yes, that was a famous, we joke about it in my family once, years and years ago. We were talking about somebody we knew in our life, and my mom said, how's he doing anyway? And my sister said metaphorically, of course, well, Mom, he hasn't really done much. He's kind of living in a van down by the river. And my mom said, well, what kind of a van and what river?
She had not been watching, huh?
She had missed the Chris Farley. So we'll say that when somebody's misunderstanding something, we'll say, what kind of van and what river are they living by? Who would have been your interview that you've Farley'd a little bit?
Oh, definitely Pat Riley. When he was the coach of the Lakers, I met him in Indianapolis at Market Square Arena. And there was just a couple of times during the interview where I kept thinking to myself, God, I'm talking to Pat Riley. I'm talking to Pat Riley. God, is that a good-looking tie? Oh, my God, is that a cool suit? And I stumbled through that thing. I was so bad.
Did you ever go back and look at it? And was it as good or as bad as you remembered?
It was worse. But the thing is, when I go back and listen to it, the finished feature was slick and cool because you don't have me stumbling and looking like a little 12-year-old asking the questions. All you got are his great answers. And to his credit, he really was kind about it and gave great answers.
Right. Yeah. Because later in the Chris Farley sketch, remember he goes, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, that was cool. I remember that. I had two. One was Maureen McCormick, Marcia from the Brady's.
Oh, yeah.
She was on the midday news when I was anchoring that, and she came in the area where we got ready in the women's bathroom beforehand. Came in and said, "I forgot my makeup. Can I borrow yours?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, of course." And so I just kind of stood there and watched her use my makeup to freshen up her face, and I got so just kind of starstruck and caught up in it that we sat down, and the first thing I asked was, well, how was it using my makeup? Which is the stupidest question I could have asked her. And then I did a couple of, remember that time on the Brady Bunch when you named out the scene, and of course she was trying to promote something that was much more advanced in her acting career, and she was doing some charity stuff in St. Louis, and I was talking about Brady Bunches, and it was not good.
And this was Maureen McCormick, who played Marcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
who was the one in the middle? Jan?
Yep.
Yeah, she was the one. Yeah, that was just a fun show.
I know. Yeah, as a middle child, unfortunately, I could identify with poor Jan getting left out.
Marcia.
Right. And my little sister was kind of that cute blonde Cindy Lou, who kind of just like Cindy. So we always said, she could never do any wrong. And yeah, we definitely was a kid growing up in the 70s. We could identify with the Brady Bunch. Were you a Brady Bunch watcher?
I did watch it, yes. Tommy Boy with Brian Dennehy as his dad was classic. Agree with that. Both of them no longer with us. Chris Farley died at 33. Boy, what a shame.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Something else that came up that I was talking to a friend about it, and apparently I am not alone, but this weekend trying to help out with my folks, and we were trying to cancel some subscriptions to get rid of things like some streaming services they no longer watch, or the subscribe and save auto send products from Amazon. And I got to tell you guys, I think it's almost criminal, the hoops that we had to jump through. It was exhausting, overwhelming, and we were unsuccessful. A friend told me she recently lost a spouse, and she said getting his things like his cell phone accounts and credit cards canceled, even though he has passed away, is it feels like it's nearly impossible. The onus that they require you to do is just ridiculous.
Boy, and the last thing you want to do is all those details when you're in this state of shock or mourning a terrible loss. God.
Have you ever had that experience of having trouble canceling anything? Or do you just leave that up to
Monique?
Yeah. We'd have to have her call in. I was going to say no firsthand experience. You just say, this is complicated. You go ahead and take care of this.
Isn't it kind of dangerous when you're like clicking on streaming some things now? Like if we want to watch, we have to watch the movie Psycho tonight because that's our movie tomorrow with Tarek. No, we don't have to, but we should. And last night I was on like midnight. I was about to click on, and then it said something like, if you do this, then you have to cancel after. I was signing up for streaming. I just wanted to watch a movie for 2 hours, and It's scary. You hit the yes button or the okay button, you're hooked for a month.
I told you I didn't lock my phone last week and accidentally ordered some ugly high-heeled sandals in the wrong size. Just bouncing around in my thigh pocket of my pajamas. So I've been much more careful about locking my phone since then, for sure.
And by the way, if you want to watch Psycho and be kind of in tune with us tomorrow, Connor, you found it on Peacock, is that right?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
And Connor, since you've seen all the movies, have you seen it before, or you're going to rewatch for tomorrow?
I have seen it before, and if I am able to, I will watch it again for tomorrow.
Good idea. Another good idea. Our friends at TB Exteriors. We're going to save you some money, people. All you have to do is do exactly what you're doing right now. Listen to KTRS. $500 off just for our KTRS listeners. All you have to do is mention KTRS and call TB Exteriors. And if you are in need of a full roof replacement, they will give you a $500 discount. It's pretty darn good. One of the things that makes TB Exteriors special is the fact that not only do they serve all Missouri locations within our listening area, they go above and beyond. They use CertainTeed, which is by many considered to be the best in the business when it comes to shingles and roofing equipment. But in order to be what's called a CertainTeed Select Shingles Master, you have to go through an exceptional amount of training, which allows them to offer the highest level of warranties. And TB Exterior goes the extra mile. You're getting the best quality, the best quality materials, and they're being put on by people who have the highest training. So you get the highest level warranties, and you get $500 off if you mention that you are a KTRS listener as well. Reach out today, TB Exteriors. Tell them you heard about it right here, 636-362-9503 or tbexteriorsmo.com.
Before we go to break, I have to read the text of the day, Jill. I cut the cord with Spectrum on everything but the internet, and they tried to upsell me for 30 minutes. I felt like Irene Cara when I was done. What a feeling. Now that is clever. Love that line. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's John Carney. A lot of conversations with the folks over at Allen Roofing, pretty much asking advice, because I know a lot of people got smacked by that storm, and he had some great advice for people to think about. First off, be careful of who you talk to when you're going to get some work done. Make sure there's an agreement, and the scope of work is laid out in that contract. Also, as you can imagine, a lot of contractors are busy. Give them some time. And you know what? Allen Roofing will come put a tarp on your roof at no charge, even if you don't use them when you get the roof repaired. Also, check the Better Business Bureau. See what the reviews are for contractors that you deal with. And also remember, insurance companies allow up to an entire year from the date of loss to file a claim. So you've got time to get those repairs done and that replacement done. Don't rush it. Just a few tips from the people that know roofing and repairs better than anyone. It's Allen Roofing, online at aroofing.net.
You know what they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and windows and doors are usually that first impression when it comes to your home. Dalco Home Remodeling custom makes their windows and doors, and better yet, they make them here in Missouri. Dalco Home Remodeling is locally and family owned, celebrating 50 years, so they know a thing or two. The Dalco team is known for quality and customer satisfaction. That's the way it was 50 years ago when they started, and that's still true today. So if you're looking to change the look of your home without breaking the bank, call Dalco Home Remodeling. They do free in-home estimates. Just call 314-298-7300 and make an appointment. You can also check them out online at dalcohomeremodeling.com. As they've always said, if you buy somewhere else and find out how much you could have saved at Dalco, you'll blow your stack. So call Dalco first, 314-298-7300.
Hey, it's Julie Buck for our friends at Triad Bank. They are a full-service financial institution, and they've been in St. Louis for over 20 years with 2 locations, one at Clayton and Lindbergh, and the other one just west of 270 on Olive. If you've got your own business and you want to have a better banking experience, look no further than Triad Bank. Their mission is to provide a wide range of commercial and personal banking services to you and your business. For more, go to triadbanking.com.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
If you're looking for your next home, think of First Community. Our Smart Choice Home Loan offers a 30-year fixed rate of just 6.531% APR to qualified borrowers, and you only need a down payment of 10%. Whether it's your first home, your forever home, or even a vacation home, be smart with a Smart Choice loan from First Community for all your savings and all your loans. Must qualify for membership. For terms and conditions, call toll-free 1-888-642-7969. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender.
Your biggest choice in home restoration is who do you trust with your home, your most valued asset? Few can match Banner Construction's experience and dedication to excellence. Banner is an elite preferred James Hardie contractor and Pella window specialist. Restoration is a one-time opportunity to have Banner's design team show you architectural options to make your home the neighborhood showcase. Call for a free consultation, 314-569-1050. And have a Banner Day.
Been great having you with us on the Frank and Jill Show today. Really fun show, lots of good information. We have a great one planned for you tomorrow as well. Of course, back on Radiothon Day, I was very excited because the prize that I offered was a chance to come in, hang out in the studios a little bit, go out to lunch. And the winner, Todd Allen, said that sounds really fun. And also, I'd love to be able to share about something that's very near and dear to my heart, which is a wonderful fundraiser that's coming up on November 1st, the Art of Paws and People. PAWS, which stands for Pets Are Wonderful Support Program, which provides pet care assistance to low-income individuals with HIV, AIDS, and other disabling illnesses, as well as seniors, is a great program. Todd, it's going to be fun to go out to lunch with you today, but I'm most excited to hear about why PAWS is so important in our community.
PAWS, again, has been around for 35 years, founded in 1990. Pets and people are better together is the premise. And especially back in the early 90s when HIV was such more stigmatized, sometimes you didn't have friends anymore, you didn't have family anymore, maybe you weren't able to work. And that love and affection of that dog kissing you when you wake up or going for that walk, that's so important. And as you mentioned, the PAWS program pays for free pet food, vet care, and other things for the animals. Just no one should ever have to choose between paying for their rent, paying their own medication, paying for their own food, or giving up that beloved pet. So we make sure that never happens.
So what's your best example of a dog bringing life into a dwelling?
I mean, was kind of before my time when it was first founded, but just hearing those heartwarming stories from those clients that this meant everything in the world to them not to have to give up, their pets.
You love it. And so let's talk about the event on November 1st. It sounds like it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, so this is my baby. I founded this 22 years ago. Art of Paws and People brings together 50 local artists, including Charlie Hauska, who did our logo and who's sitting here with us today, to be auctioned off. We also have silent auction items. We just got some stuff from hats and stuff, so that'll be included in our silent auctions. But concert tickets, signed jerseys, those kind of things. It's catered by Orlando's, the all-important 5 open bars. There's a Buffalo Trace craft cocktail competition. We have DJs. We give our community service awards. So it's a fun night, and it's the primary fundraiser for the PAWS program here in St. Louis. All the money raised stays here in St. Louis for that program.
If somebody wants more information, how do they get it?
To artofpawsandpeople.com.
Okay, that is very, very easy, Todd. Thanks so much for coming in to talk about that, and thank you guys for being with us here today. Carney Show coming up next, of course, with John Carney, Julie Buck, Max Foisey. They've got a really good show today, including a restaurant. It is Restaurant Tuesday. Dan Morin is there as well. We've got a good show tomorrow. Sarah Fensky been breaking news all over the place. She's going to have some hot topics and headlines for us.
That article, I mean, I've had people from all over the country text me about what's going on with Rennie. And, as a Channel 5 employee, they told us not to talk about it. Now, all you got to do is read that article, and that tells the whole thing. So it was really good reporting by St. Louis Magazine and Sarah.
She is very, very good at doing her job, and we're lucky to have her in St. Louis, and we're lucky to have her on the Frank and Jill Show every single Wednesday. And then Tarek Khan, another one of your favorite guests, is coming in tomorrow. We're going to go back in time. Did you remember, is this the
1960
okay.
was the original Psycho. And,
so 65 years, that seems kind of impossible, doesn't it, that it's been that long?
It is, yeah. And of course, they made a remake with Vince Vaughn. It was incredibly mediocre. I guess when you have an iconic movie, it's tough to make a remake to make it look great. It's been happened before, but not with this one.
What do you think? What do you and Connor think went wrong in the remake? What were they unable
It's
to do?
tough to say. You just can't live up to the original, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, because you're darned if you do and darned if you don't. If you do it exactly the same as the original, people will say is exactly the same as the original. Go watch the original. But whatever you change, people are not going to like generally too.
Yeah. What is a great example of a remake that was from an iconic movie that really worked out? I'm sure there's some.
I am sure too. You have about 1 minute to text in on the Royal Banks of Missouri text line 84126. We'll write them down. We'll bring it up as a topic of conversation tomorrow when you come back. It's going to be a good one. Very glad you guys joined us for this edition of the Frank and Jill Show. We will be back in 22 hours, as Frank said. Make it a great day, everybody. You deserve it.
Hey, Doc, nice office. Quick question. If you had to choose, would you give yourself a root canal or run payroll?
Run payroll, no question.
Seriously? Well, have you run payroll before?
Paying my team with Gusto couldn't be easier. Gusto gives me unlimited payroll runs, next day direct deposits, and automatically files my taxes. Saves me time.
Wow.